G'day there guys, it's been long enough. Backstreet needs to come back, alright? It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you, right there, you, to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie right now and get ready for some bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user AmiTheA friendcar1234. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not switching places with my friend and ruining her life? This happened a couple weeks ago, but I'm still getting crap about it. A friend of mine, AITA, fake name, asked me if I wanted to come with her on some errands and see her new car. I said yes because I had some things to get done and my car was being checked over. We're in the same bubble and stayed masked the whole time. Well, while we were out, AITA ended up hitting another car while turning left. We were both shaken but mostly fine, but when I started to call the police, AITA started freaking out even more. She started begging me not to call the cops and to just go talk to the other driver. I didn't feel comfortable not calling them, so I went ahead and did. Then AITA started begging me to get in the driver's seat, saying I had to get in the driver's seat. I had to claim that I was the one driving. Turns out AITA doesn't have a license. She needed or wanted a car, but didn't feel like getting her license, so her mum bought the car for her. I didn't feel comfortable lying to the police, so I continued to refuse and just got out of the car and waited on the sidewalk for them to get there. Well, AITA got arrested for driving without a license, insurance, or registration for her car, and just told me today she has been found at fault for the incident. Now AITA, her mum, and half of our friends are saying I'm an a-hole for not just switching places. She is now facing multiple fines, possible jail time, and being kicked out of our MA program because of all of this. I tried to explain that I didn't feel comfortable lying to the police, but she just keeps calling me a privileged tramp and wishing horrible things would happen to me. So am I the a-hole for not switching places with her? Edit. Several people have said that I should include this, and I'm sorry I didn't in the original post. This was much more serious than a fender bender. This was my response to someone else. She took the entire front of his car off, or at least it looked like it. We were at an intersection, and she was in a left turn lane with a yellow light and didn't look before she went. The other gentleman was coming the opposite way going straight. Both cars are totaled. The gentleman was not unconscious as I originally thought, but he did hit his head on the steering wheel and he had to be taken to the hospital. He did eventually get out of his car with help, and that's when I believe I should have talked to him. AITA and I were mostly alright, with just some bumps and bruises. Edit 2. Someone suggested I add this because of people saying I'm the a-hole for calling the police, but for major accidents such as this one where I live, you are required by law to call the police and file a report. I think this is just a clear, not the a-hole moment right here. I don't think it's the moral or legal thing to do for you to take over for her. AITA intentionally did all of these things knowingly and drove stupidly on the day to cause an at-fault accident. It doesn't sound like she's in a situation where she can't pay her license, insurance, or registration. She just didn't want to. And it's kinda too bad, so sad when you crash the car and you're like freaking out about it because the worst case scenario happened. AITA doesn't sound much of a good friend for trying to get you to take the fall for this one, because then you'd be driving an unlicensed, unregistered car, and that's just an absolute no-go in my books. You're not the a-hole for not switching places with her, neither are you for calling the cops. You did everything that you should have done in this situation, she did everything she shouldn't have done, and that's her fault. Not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Revolutionary Bus 448 says, not the a-hole. You could get into financial, legal trouble, insurance fraud for lying. You did the right thing. She's mad because she brought all of this on herself. AITA is not a friend. Her request to switch seats would have landed OP in unnecessary legal and financial trouble. Everything she did that day is contrary to what a friend is supposed to do. Did she even ask OP if you were okay after the accident? I would cut her out of my life and block anyone trying to blame you for not taking the fall. If the man had died, she could be charged with manslaughter too. There would have been a criminal trial, and everything would have been effed. Also, the guy could still have complications weeks after the accident. Doesn't matter if it's years later either. If he dies due to complications way down the line, that's still murder. Or manslaughter, come on Reddit. I Am Heart of Fight says, no, don't drive without a license. She wasn't even doing something heroic. She was running errands. If Daya is this mean to you, she's not a good friend. This isn't a white lie. This is literally not having a license or insurance. Doing some dumb show-off car run, being in an MA program and getting her mum and friends to gang up on you. Find better friends. I 100% agree. But what does being in an MA program have to do with finding better people? It means she's not a teenager out for a joyride, but an adult woman who knows right from wrong. And Dirty Workout Clothes says, not the a-hole. She ruined her own life. She and her mum chose to be irresponsible, and not only did they do something illegal, but then asked you to do something illegal too. Block her on all platforms. If she continues to harass you because she's an idiot that did idiotic things, tell her you'll inform the police that you were being harassed. Posted by user BThrowawayBthrow, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law that I'm not the one with fertility issues? Me, 32 male, and my wife, 32 female, have been trying to have a baby for several years now. Unfortunately, she is probably unable to get pregnant. We've run several tests, and it's only hers that come back with bad news. Additionally, I accidentally got a girl pregnant a few years before I met my wife. The girl had an abortion. Point is, I can produce kids, but my wife probably can't. I don't blame this on my wife at all. In fact, I'm excited to talk about our other options. Adoption, surrogates, etc. I love my wife so much and I want to raise kids together, even if it's not biological. I was on the phone with my wife's mum the other day, and she started saying some weird stuff. She said it was okay that I couldn't have kids, but maybe we could find a sperm donor for my wife, and that she knew I'd be a good dad, even if the kid wasn't related to me, etc. I was so confused. So I told my mother-in-law that my wife was the one who was having fertility issues. My mother-in-law told me that my wife told her that I was the one with fertility issues. I was sure it was a harmless misunderstanding, so I talked about it with my wife, and she got really mad at me. She said I had no right to tell her mum that she was having issues getting pregnant. She said it was something very personal to her, and she felt awful just thinking about how her mum now knew that it was her fault we can't have kids easily. It's not her fault. She didn't choose to have these issues. She said that it was her mum, and I should have just gone along with it because she always wanted to be seen as good and capable in her mum's eyes. I feel bad, but I had no idea she had told her mum it was me. Also, I don't know why she had to say who had issues with fertility when she couldn't just say that we are having issues. My wife said I was an a-hole for telling her mum. Am I? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. You might say I'm the a-hole because I told my wife's mum her private business, because I never even thought to have that conversation with my wife, and because my wife's mum now thinks my wife is a liar. Isn't this just a double standard then? Was there a precedent set that it's okay for your wife to talk about her private business with her mother, but not for you to talk about it? And then vice versa, she's talking about your private business with her mom also? So any and all communication about private issues is fine as long as it's the wife and the mother, but as soon as you get involved in this equation, it's a bad thing. I'm trying to comprehend what's going on here because this is just some stupid, flawed logic. I don't get why you would lie about that in the first place. I can get why you're self-conscious about it, but why lie and say that it's your husband? What do you have to gain from that? Are you being shunned by the family? I can understand in the wife's situation if the family is abusive and they're going to lay this on her that she'd rather just lie and put it on the husband and then talk about it with him later. but it doesn't sound like in that realm any communication was had, and the husband hasn't pointed to the family being abusive. I don't understand why she would lie about this. I feel like there is absolutely no issue with OP communicating with the wife's mother. I feel like that's something you would talk about because you'd want her to be aware and her to help you guys through this process. And that's evidenced further by the fact that the mum says, hey, I support you guys. You will be an amazing father even if it's not your sperm. So I feel like the onus of all of this lies solely on the wife in this situation. She has some communication issues and she needs to, step up, I think, and be better next time. This isn't a deal breaker by any sense. This is just a frustrating issue to go through. I'm going to go with not the a-hole on this one, OP. In the comments, Acrobatic Sky 141 says, not the a-hole. As someone who struggles with infertility, I know where your wife is coming from. I felt like a failure as a woman and didn't want to talk about it with people. However, her mother brought it up and you simply responded. If your wife wanted you to back up her lie, she should have told you about it. Communication between the two of you in this situation is key. If she, and you, hasn't talked to a therapist about this, I highly recommend it. She didn't tell OP about it or give him a heads up because she didn't want to admit that she lied about him behind his back. While he's out there being supportive to her, she's made this into some contest for public approval and blamed him for her fertility issues. She definitely needs therapy. But I disagree that she made it a contest. She was ashamed that she can't perform the most important task a woman can. She likely feels like she is less of a woman, or that she must have done something to cause it. If she's religious, she might even feel as if she's offended God. It's more like she's a child at a sleepover that has wet the bed. She's embarrassed and trying to hide the soiled sheets or blame the person she was sharing a bed with. The problem I have with it is she said it was very personal and she felt awful that her mum knew. However, she didn't think it would be very personal for him or check with him before revealing health information to his mother-in-law. If he had been the one with problems, would she have said that it was her to protect him? Food for thought. I Choose You Snorlax says, your wife decided to lie to her mother. Instead of being honest about her issues, she blamed them on you. Then she doesn't tell you she lied about fertility issues to her mother. This is literally all her doing. The craziest part here is that her telling her mum about your totally fictitious reproductive issues is absolutely okay, yet you correcting her mother about her fertility issues isn't. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Sarcasm. She's living in a glass house throwing boulders and blaming you for the mess. Ridiculous, not the a-hole. Posted by user Throwaway2T24, titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my wife and mother-in-law ridiculous because they're still upset at me over something that happened on Christmas? I, male 35, have been married for 3 years. My wife, female 34, and I have 2 kids, male 5 and female 3. Just gonna hop right into it. Last Christmas, like every other one, my wife and I have a talk. It's really her telling me not to act like a child on Christmas morning. My in-laws spend a week with us and leave after New Year's, and mother-in-law always leaves with a complaint to my wife about my behavior. Here's what I do. I stay in my pajamas, and I sit on the floor with my kids and open presents with them. That's it. I don't see the issues with this, but my wife and mother-in-law has huge problems with it. My wife always pulls me to the side and it turns into an argument. She wants me to go upstairs and change into clothes and act like an adult. I don't see problems with me staying in my pajamas at 8 a.m. My mother-in-law came to visit today and she asked me if I was ready to apologize for behaving like a fool on Christmas. This crap happened a month ago. And she wants me to apologize? My wife just told me to say that I'm sorry so it can be settled. I said she and her mother were being ridiculous and they needed to get over it, as I'm not going to stop enjoying Christmas with my kids. My mother-in-law got offended and stormed out. My wife called me an a-hole for insulting them. She now wants me to say sorry for both incidents. I didn't even consider her words. My mother-in-law posted on Facebook about me insulting her, and I'm being harassed into apologizing. I feel foolish just writing about this. So now here I am. So Reddit, tell me, am I the a-hole? And edits to add, no, it's not inappropriate pajamas. I'm around my kids. It's a regular shirt and pajama pants. I'm not walking around in my skivvies, and I'm not in them all day. Usually till 10 in the morning, no later. Gonna keep this one short and say I don't see any issue with you staying in your pajamas. That's literally a non-issue. How is it an adult thing to be in clothes and out of your pajamas up to 10 in the morning? Or 8 in the morning? There is no issue here. I don't get what there is to be upset about. These two kind of just woke up today and chose violence and chose to be dicks. That's not your fault. There's nothing that you've done here that I can see as you being wrong. I'm losing my words because my brain is shutting down. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but this has destroyed my brain. OP, you are not the a-hole. Keep being a good dad. Thumbs up to you. Don't get what these two people's problems are. Go away, people. In the comments, Dizquab says, I, male 35, have been married for 3 years. I have 3 kids, M5, F3, and my wife, female 34. Not the a-hole 1,000 times. Signed, Jewish lady who loves Christmas morning in pajamas. Exactly. What's wrong with being in your jammies in your own home? My parents are almost 60, and guess what? They both hang around in the kitchen in their pajamas on a Sunday morning. Mainly because it's their own home, and they can damn well wear what they want in their own home. I think this is ridiculous. I'm guessing mother-in-law and wife have more formal expectations around guests, and mother-in-law considers herself a guest, but that isn't reasonable. Not the a-hole, absolutely. Pajamas are the best. Then mother-in-law should no longer be invited to be a guest in OP's home on Christmas morning. Problem solved. Gidung Geek says, not the a-hole. This is a very odd thing for your wife and mother-in-law to be angry about. You enjoy Christmas and enjoy the spark of joy it brings to your kids. Why the heck are they so irritated that you want to make it special with your family? What's the saying? We don't stop playing because we grow old because we stop playing. Haven't they noticed that family pajamas are a thing at Christmas? The question is, why aren't those two in their pajamas on Christmas morning? They're a pair of weirdos, not the a-hole. And Randy Leahy 212 says, not the a-hole, don't apologize for being a good dad. Posted by user NBA Jamsand, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepmom she needs to move out in a few months? Hi everyone, this is not a legal question. I have already checked on this with a lawyer and through my school's legal department, and I'm legally fine. This is just a moral judgment. My dad married my stepmom 7 years ago. She's not a bad woman, and she's not a gold digger either. She and my dad are legitimately in love. However, my dad doesn't have much time left due to medical issues. He likely won't make it till summer. My dad and I weren't close. He was military, and if he wasn't gone, he was in a crappy mood. My mom was in the picture, but she wasn't a peach either. So I was raised by my grandparents in their home. Neither of my parents could tell you my birthday 3 years ago, just to give you an idea of it. I don't hate either of my parents, but I don't really recognize them as my parents either. My dad has been a much better dad to my stepmom's son, which is good, and I'm grateful for that. However, I don't feel a bond with my stepbrother or my stepmom either. When my grandma passed away, she left me her home in her will, as that was what my grandparents wanted. My dad and his wife moved in with my permission while I was away at school. It was no secret that I intended to move back and live alone in my home, which has caused some conflicts in the past. This past weekend, while I was studying, stepmom sent me an email filling me in on dad again, telling me about her COVID layoff and asking what my plans were after this last semester. So I told her I was returning home and had a job lined up by an old friend. Stepmom asked if I felt it would be crowded there, and I reminded her that it was my home, so if anyone was uncomfortable, they would need to relocate. Stepmom pushed back a little bit, and I reminded her again the home was mine, and that they needed to be ready to leave by summer's end, as this is my last semester, and I wanted to give them plenty of time to relocate. My dad ended up calling me later and tried to guilt me. However, I reminded him that he didn't really raise me, and I was under no obligation to help them as much as I already had. I called his wife after that, and told her that after my dad passed, she was gone for what she had just tried to do. The summer deal was off, and I would evict after 60 days, which is still more than required. I told her my dad chose a military career over his son, and when he wasn't lacing his boots, he was yelling at me or throwing stuff. Stepmom brought her child's education into it because they couldn't afford to live in a good school district when this was over, but I told her neither he or she was my concern. I told my friends about this, and they all thought that I was right because of what I've already done for them and what my dad did in the past. They have said the stepmom is just another person in the world, and it sucks for her, but you can't set yourself on fire to keep them warm. What do you guys think? Am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think I could be the a-hole because they already have enough to deal with. I mean, I don't really agree that you would be the a-hole in this circumstance. You've given us more than enough reason in this post. You sound like a reasonable and logical person. They seem like they're just trying to scam another few years of easy, good housing out of you when you already agreed for enough time for them to be there. They accepted that deal when it was offered because you couldn't live in the house, you could have always rented it out to someone else, yet you still let them live there. They are bad people for trying to squeeze out more than they're allowed. Perhaps reneging on that summer deal and immediately giving them a 60-day eviction notice is a bit of a dick move to some people, but you know these people better than we do. You've given us a short summary, your dad is not the, best person in this world, and I don't blame you for doing what you've done. This is pretty mild as far as Am I the A-hole posts go, and I'm glad that we have a normal one to end this with. I think you've done the right thing. Morally, I think you're in the right. Morally, I think they're in the wrong. There's your judgment, not the a-hole. In the comments, Androgis Senior says, not the a-hole at all. You were so generous for even giving them 60 days, let alone let them live till summer. Let them live? Oh my god. He's gonna go murder them after the 60 days are up. I'm amazed by the entitlement of your father. It was your grandparents' choice to leave you the house, not your father. Stick to what you were doing and don't look back. They don't deserve you. I promise you if the house had gone to Dad, stepmom would have wound up with a house and OP would be the one looking for a place. Smart grandparents knew what they were doing. Stabby Crabs 83 says, not the a-hole, but I would not have gotten into this in the first place. Once someone's in your home, it's a lot harder to get them out. That and wear and tear. Anyway, they aren't your relations and have clearly got it in their head that the house is theirs and you have inconvenienced them by coming home. Good luck. Yeah, I shudder to think of the ways they might try to FOP over when they're feeling jaded before the eviction. And Under Umbrellas 1 says, not the a-hole. They knew your plans beforehand of returning back to your own home. They were staying at someone else's house, I assume rent-free. You had given them 6 months' notice to find a new place. You don't owe your dad or your stepmom. You deserve your own space and being surrounded by people who have supported you, especially during a hard time when your dad is sick. I'm sorry for what you're experiencing. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys. Sorry, I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down to the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.